Hi. 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 Hello. Hi, this is Seamless, and I apologize for the weirdness of this video. I'm having less than a good time with it right now. Unfortunately, I don't have... This will be unedited, which means that I don't have a video preview, an audio preview of the sound that I'm working on. But I will put a time indicator in the description of when the sound that I'm talking about occurs for you peoples. Anyway, what I'm going to show you today is basically the secret weapon of Harmor. And the reason for me personally, Harmor is the greatest thing that's ever happened. It has to do with how it deals with Unison and the fact that it is an additive synthesizer. The additiveness allows you to have more control over things than you wouldn't anywhere else forever for any reason. So what is additive synthesis? Additive synthesis is where the sound, in this case a saw wave, is built up not of just a single waveform that's playing and being interpreted by the engine, but instead it's being built by sine wave harmonics. And because when it builds it, this is also why additive synthesis is good for doing things like resampling things, like loading in and resynthesizing it perfectly, is because what it's really doing is, instead of playing a waveform, it's figuring out, like you see here in the wave candy, it's figuring out where at what frequency there is a sound being played, and then it puts a harmonic there, and that's how it determines how to make the sound. And it does so, Harmor in any case does so by playing 512 or so sine harmonics, and it constructs the sound. And then how the phase and the volume, the amplitude of and pitch of these harmonics come together to create the sound that we're using in Harmor. And we also have a great control over these harmonics. For example, we can selectively turn them on and off in sequence, creating something, creating a filter sound. So this isn't actually cutting out audio as you would a subtractive source. It's actually preventing audio from playing for these harmonics. And this is one of the reasons why you can create interesting filter shapes, is because it can determine procedurally which harmonics to turn on and off. And it's one of the reasons why additive synthesis is extremely powerful, and one of the reasons why Harmor is just the best thing ever. I'm talking really fast. Man. Okay. Slowing down just a little bit. Anyway, so let's talk about Unison. So one of the things about Unison and detuning two saws is that whenever anyone ever tells you to make a Reese sound, we're like, oh, how do I sound like Noisia? They go, oh, you detune two saws, and then you frequency split. This frequency splitting thing is key, because it's usually poorly explained, or it doesn't really get you where you want to go. So you get your Reese sound, you do that with Unison, that's pretty good. And you can see in the wave candy here the phasing effect that it has when you put one or two waveforms of a different pitch next to each other. And it's very interesting to look at. And so what's up with frequency splitting? Well, the kind of effect that we want to get is the result of applying a different, like Unison or like a chorus or flanger effect on a different part of the spectrum. So like you could put one between 10K and 15K, and one between 5K and 10K, and make the different sound, and it would create a movement. Well, Harmor can do this, but to the nth degree, where in a sense that instead of having a frequency split that's determined by actual frequencies, you can just say that Harmor is split by harmonic. So in reality, it already has 512 frequency splits that also follow the notes. So that is to say that there's a graph that we have here which controls the unison pitch thickness per harmonic is a function of pitch depth, which is the Y, and octave. So here in the harmonic we have the first harmonic and the first octave, and then all this information. So it's split up into 9 octaves here in this window. And then if I were to make a change, you can even see it in the audio spectrum that follows. You see that the effect keeps in with a note, because it's not per spectrum, it's per octave, it's per note value. You can even, actually, I know that you can't see at all because the video encoding is crappy, but if it was my normal recording with fraps, you could pick out the actual difference in the audio right here. And if I do this a little, you get a little bit more extreme. Yeah, see the difference. Anyway, why is this good? Well, this kind of sound that you're hearing right now is interesting, but it's not really anything special, you're saying to yourself. Well, then you just distort it. What is that? That's just ridiculous. But, like, you know, you spend your whole life trying to find something, and then ImageLine just comes out with the plugin that does what you want it to do. It's just absurd. And anyway, that's really the whole crux of what I'm trying to show you here, is that harmonic unison pitch changing over the octave value per note before distortion creates that sound, that kind of sound. And this is what you tried to accomplish in the past when you do frequency splitting, is that you would try to put a different unison value over different parts of the spectrum, but like, you're not going to do 512 frequency splits. You're not even going to do 100 frequency splits. You might do 10, you know, or 15 if you're being really adventurous. And that would only get you kind of there. And then, but that would only also have the same kind of modulation effect over all the notes, because typically, I mean, there's ways that you can make it follow the note value, but typically it won't follow the note value. This does. Now, it's important to understand really what this graph is doing, because you might think, as a result of me turning this all the way down, and seeing that the higher frequencies, especially if I turn distortion off, the higher frequencies are now back to the way they were before the unison was applied. That's because the unison is now value 0, which would be the same as if I took this pitch slider and brought it down to 0 for this section. That's not to say that the volume of the effect is applied, like the wet-dry change, because this is a pitch value. So that means that if I had it up here, for this section of the octaves, the harmonic octaves, this would be value right there, right? The middle line here is even value, which means it's the value that you're setting. All the way down is 0, and all the way up is 2x. So that's what that means. And so when I have, like, if you wanted to create a split to replicate what we're doing, so many points. If I were to just do this, say, okay, so I got one up here at 9 octaves and then one down here at 5 octaves. Say this is like 200 harmonics. You would need to have 200 frequency splits pretty high up, and then have gradually decreasing unison depth per each split as you're going down. And so you could do that. You could do, like, reasonably, you could do this. You can make a split and make it look like that. And this would not be an unreasonable sound. In fact, let's see what that sounds like. So you could accomplish that with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 splits. Just split the lower frequencies, split this midsection, split top 3, and then distort it, and you can make this sound. And then again, the problem is that it wouldn't follow the note value, but there's ways around that. And you can make a filter that you're using to make the cut follow the note value, which I'm not 100% sure how to do, but I know that you can do it. It'd be really ridiculously, just stupidly a large amount of work. But like, that's the beauty of Harmor, because obviously I just did all this and it wasn't a huge amount of work. And then you can also do, like, previously impossible things, like make a sloped value. Like, you can do that. And how would you even calculate what that is? You would need calculus to determine what kind of splits to make that work. Or at least, I guess, linear algebra, but I'm bad at math. So, like, I'm bringing this to your attention because I brought this up in other videos, like, as part of how I made a sound for some things, but, like, this is really the crux and the basis for any kind of new sound development that I do when I'm trying to make something. I will immediately start doing this and then messing with it. And then I would do something like put a filter on top. Like so. Filter. So that's more or less what's going on there. And so now I've made this video and I can link you to it whenever I'm talking about it, because I've never really talked about it by itself. And I feel like people are missing this. And I want like, this is really like the additive synthesis in conjunction with like making it do subtractive things only better is why Harmor is good. But this particular thing, this being able to change unison values across the harmonics, is really where the power lies in terms of making interesting modulation in bass. So actually, let's talk about the modulation for a second. So it obviously has a rate, right? And you would listen to that, and you would think that that's being controlled by something like a bandpass filter or a notch or something. That's what you would do normally, but you wouldn't have anything that precise, creating those kinds of movements. And you saw how when I increased the pitch, it went faster. Well, how would you control it normally? Is you would increase the unison pitch value. So it's like really slow, a little bit faster. Now this isn't very precise. It's not a really. It's not like it goes faster, because then it also splits the pitch a little bit. And while you could just turn the fundamental off from the unison, that also radically changes your sound, because part of the warble, the pitch warble that you get, is from the fundamental phasing out of itself because it's being unison with itself. That's important to realize. Anyway, but that's what you would control in order to make the sound different. And this is, of course, before distortion, because if it wasn't distorted, you wouldn't have as much movement, because the sounds are just all going all by itself. But when you're distorting it, it's effectively compressing the sound really hard, and the phasing is becoming more obvious as it attenuates certain frequencies and such. Okay, so this is like the third time I tried to record this video. I hope it worked, and I hope this was informative for you. I'm really sorry about not having an audio sample in the beginning, especially because I actually remembered to do it this time, and I couldn't because I was recording. Yeah. So if you have any questions, ask me. I will attempt to answer them. And as usual, have a nice day.